All right, welcome in. Uso at the box. LSU, they get the victory 4-3 over Southeastern. That was an entertaining game over there in Hammond, Louisiana for all 9 innings. You saw great pitching. You saw clutch hitting. You saw, we're going to talk plenty about Cade Anderson, and he was the story of the night until the 9th inning when LSU's offense really finally came off the mat, and that was a really impressive feat for them to do, and we'll talk plenty about it. We're going to go through the entire game. We'll give plenty of thoughts, plenty of reaction. Obviously, glad everybody's here. Kind of waiting for a few more people to kind of get in here on the YouTube live before we totally dive in to the recap. But huge win for LSU. They improved to 12-1. They'll get set to face Xavier this weekend at the box. Tough loss for Southeastern. That's a really good ball club, and you'll see them. You'll see them in about a month. They'll come to the box for a return trip, little home and home, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of the same pitchers that you saw. You know, they were talking a lot on the broadcast about how Southeastern's picked to finish 7th in the Southland, and we talked about that here on the preview for the game, and I'm with them. That seems low. They looked really, really good, especially on the mound. All right, let's kind of get into the game a little bit, and then we'll give overarching thoughts at the end. Cade Anderson was incredible, obviously, and then You handed it off to the bullpen. Fidel Ulloa, I thought, pitched very well. We're going to have a conversation about Justin Lure because you need to have a conversation about Justin Lure at this point. Gavin Guidry came in, kept it at a manageable deficit at 3-1, and then you get the big 9th inning, and Nate Ackenhouse comes in and closes it. I thought for sure they'd just send Gavin Guidry back out there. They did not. Let's go through it. How'd you get there? So Cade Anderson strikes out the first 3 hitters of the ball game. That would become a theme. And it was, dominant stuff. Nobody got to a 3-ball count against him in the first inning. LSU would respond in kind by going 3 up, 3 down in the first. You move on to the second, and Cade Anderson once again strikes out the side. So that's 6 for 6. He struck out the first 7 batters of the game, had all 3 pitches working, saw a few changeups in there. It was just really dominant stuff from the freshman. What's disappointing, LSU really can't get anything going again against Aspalm. He was really good. Kind of the book on him. You knew he could throw fairly hard, low, maybe run up to the mid-90s, but he came into the game with more walks than strikeouts, and that could not have looked further from who he was. He was awesome for 2 innings, really pounded the zone against LSU. I'm waiting for the box score to come into the inbox so I can get you, pitch counts and strikes, because that was one thing I really saw in this game was we've talked an awful lot, obviously, about LSU offensively, maybe getting off to a slower start this year, and it makes sense with everything you're replacing. We don't need to rehash all of that. But what they've done, number one, is they've done very well with 2 outs, and we'll get to that when we get to the 9th inning. Number 2, they've done great to chip away, but the problem has come in them, as Jay Johnson puts it, getting away from their plan. I think you could look at how they struggled for 8 innings tonight and wonder that. And the reason I want the box score is just to kind of confirm this. But when I'm watching that game, I don't see LSU really kind of getting away from their plan. I see Southeastern pounding the strike zone. So you give them credit. You tip your hat. LSU could have tried to be patient. They could have tried to work counts. It wouldn't have mattered. They would have been down in the count because Southeastern was throwing so many strikes. That's kind of what I at least see. I'm waiting, again, see pitch counts and how many for strikes to really confirm that. So you get to the 3rd inning. Cade Anderson, another dominant performance, gets a fly out, and then his 7th strikeout. And then this is where you start to really wonder for LSU, right? Because they go to the bullpen. You're going to start your 2nd trip through the lineup. If you're the Tigers, hold on, pardon me. Southeastern's play-by-play thing on there, it's so bad. Okay, there we go. We're back on track. After the 2nd inning, I should have said the 2nd inning, you'll have to forgive me. live stat page is just not good. In the second inning, Neal leads off with a double, and you can't get him around. That was disappointing from an offensive standpoint from LSU. Travinsky flies out and the hitters count at 2-0, and then Milam grounds out, and then Jones strikes out. Now you go to the third, and you have another great, obviously, top half, but you go 3 up, 3 down in the bottom. In the fourth inning, big star. Big star next to the fourth inning. So Cade Anderson's getting set to go through the lineup for the second time. Hall has been awesome all season so far for the Lions and works a great leadoff walk to start that inning. You come back with a strikeout because, of course, he did. Cade Anderson struck out everybody except for 2 batters that he recorded outs on tonight. But then you give up a single on the first pitch. It wasn't hit terribly hard, but it got through, and you end up with runners at first and third, 1 out in a scoreless ball game. And Cade Anderson shows great maturity as a freshman on the road, true road environment, goes strikeout of Thomas, 1-2 count, so gets ahead and doesn't look back, and then strikes out Hayes, 0-2 count, 3 pitches, and gets out of that, keeps it scoreless, and it's huge because the very next inning, the very next inning in the top half is when LSU was able to finally scratch across a run, and it came with 1 out. Milam singles to lead off the inning. He's just been incredible, and then Bingham would single up the middle. It was interesting. Jones, so they had the shift on Jared Jones. He fights a ball off to the opposite field. Looks like it might squirt through, but he doesn't quite technically beat the shift because he grounded out, but it was good enough to where Milam was able to advance to second, and then Bingham comes up with the single, and LSU's on top 1-0. Teams trade zeros once again there in the fourth inning. LSU would unfortunately strand a runner there, but that's when you saw Fidel Ulloa come in, and I thought was very good there in the sixth. You had the double from Hall to lead off the inning. They ruled that a double in okay. I thought they ruled it a single and a 2-base error. They ruled it a double and a 1-base error. Josh Pearson kicked the ball in right field. So you end up with a runner at third and nobody out. And that's when you go ahead and you get Fidel Ulloa. And Fidel Ulloa has been brought into this spot plenty of times. He's been very, very good in this spot plenty of times. And he was again. He limited the damage. Yes, you allowed the inherited runner to score. That's going to happen. I don't care what level of baseball you're playing. That's a really hard spot to come into with a runner at third and nobody out because there's so many different ways he can score. Sack fly, ground ball to the right side of the infield, pass ball, wild pitch. There's so many ways that guy can get home. But for him to limit it to 1 run and keep the game tied was massive. So you go into the 7th inning, and this is where it kind of started to get a little hairy for LSU's bullpen. Tigers go quietly in the top half, and then Fidel Ulloa, after getting the first 2 guys to strike out and looked dominant, first 2 guys strike out, look dominant, and then he gives up that weak single up the middle to Coley. You have a pinch runner, and you give up the double to left center field, and Southeastern takes the 1-0 lead. LSU had a nice opportunity in the top of the 8th. They could not cash in, unfortunately, but you know, you had a runner on second base there, or Braswell gets hit to lead off the inning. White singles, so you have runners at first and second. You know, bringing in Zed Ruddle as a pinch runner, and unfortunately, you couldn't get out of it. You couldn't get a run out of it and tie the game. Love, the pitcher for Southeastern, really struggled to command his breaking ball early in that inning, and unfortunately, you just couldn't take advantage. LSU brings in Justin Lohr in the bottom of the 8th inning, and it wasn't great. Lohr walks the leadoff hitter in the inning and in the lineup in Jude Hall on 4 pitches, and then advances him to second base on a balk. And you have to go get Gavin Guidry. We're going to come back to Justin Lohr. Guidry gives up, allows that inherited runner to score, but manages, kind of like Ulloa, to keep it at a 2-run ball game, which was huge. I don't know how that kid from Southeastern did not score from second base on a ball that went over Pearson's head and hit off the wall. That is abhorrent base running, that he was not able to score on that, but it worked in LSU's favor, obviously. So Guidry gets you out of that inning, and then you get to the 9th, and you're having to do this against Jackson Rodriguez, who we talked plenty about, y'all, because he was awesome. He closed out a ranked ECU team on Sunday on the road. Like, that's a true road game up there in Greenville, and he came in the game with an 0.71 ERA. He was somebody they leaned on and leaned on and leaned on throughout, led the team in appearances out of the bullpen, had been really, really good from the left side. He gets Jake Brown to foul out weekly, and then Steven Milam gets things going with 1 out, singles to left center field. After Jones flies out on 1 pitch, Mac Bingham has the at-bat of the night. Works a walk, a full count. Let's see, that's 8 pitch at bat to work the walk and keep it alive. When he's down to his last strike, his last out, you bring in Ethan Fry to pinch hit, and that's somebody we've talked about an awful lot. An awful lot throughout as somebody who could potentially emerge as a biggest at bat for him of the season, and he singles, he doubles to left center field, and you have runners at second and third. That gets a run in, so it's 3-2. Paxton Kling comes up. Admittedly, rough night for Kling at the plate, but gets himself into a hitter's count at 2-0 and laces a fastball all the way to the wall to give LSU the lead. Nate Ackenhausen in the bottom half of the ninth was lights out. Lights out. And LSU gets a come-from-behind win. I'll point out, 2-out production again in that ninth inning. All 3 of the runs in the comeback scored with 2 outs. That's massive. So we're gonna give you some an overview thought now. Here we'll go back to Anderson lore and a little bit on the offense. But before we do that, smash the like button, get subscribed up to the podcast app. Definitely get subscribed to the YouTube channel. All of that helps. This is great. I'm trying to keep track of all the chats coming in as well, but between that and having to thumb through Southeastern's god-awful live stat page, that did not go very well. They still have not sent a box score. All right, Cade Anderson. So one of the big things, and we talked about this a little bit on Monday's show and on Tuesday's show and on the preview for this game about what Cade Anderson's role will be going forward. And obviously throughout the game, a lot of the conversation on Twitter and whatnot was, okay, when can we get this guy on the weekend? And I totally understand that. And the conversation that we were having is soon, probably Mississippi State, you're going to see him pitching on the weekend. It just won't be in a starting capacity. And that's something I saw a lot too on Oaks. How do you keep this guy out of the weekend rotation? And we talked about that a lot. That question was asked, I should say, after the Rice game. And I think you can be a prisoner of the moment in that spot. I'm not taking anything away from Cade Anderson, y'all. He was awesome. You saw him at his very best tonight. You saw all 3 pitches. We wanted to see more of the curveball. You saw that. It was awesome. Like Justin LaGrange is saying, replace him with Hurd. Thatcher Hurd has taken a step forward every week. He just has. That's undeniable. I'm sorry. You might want it to be more dominant. I get it. Thatcher Hurd has taken a step forward every single week. You're not taking him out of the rotation right now. You're just not. So, where you're going to go with Cade Anderson is out of the bullpen, most likely, to start on the weekend in conference play. And that's great. That's another conversation that we were having is who are these other guys that are going to emerge as bullpen arms here through the last full week of pre-conference is how I worded it. Because when we went through it, I counted out 6 guys that you really trust. That you're like, yes, these 6 guys, they're good. You'll roll with it. But when you get into SEC play, you're obviously going to pare down the roster a little bit. You want to have normally about 8 is the number. So you're at 6, you needed 2 more. Cade Anderson can absolutely be one of those guys. And then you look at a Christian Little. You look at a Sam Dutton. You look at potentially maybe Cade Woods, Cam Johnson, any of the guys. You have time to figure that out. So I just wanted to see who would emerge. Cade Anderson took a huge step in doing that. What I loved most of all, though, is you saw him at his best tonight. I mean, the guy recorded 15 outs, 13 of them were strikeouts. Y'all, in the second week of the season, Arkansas's ace, Hagen Smith, threw 6 innings against the number 7 team in the country in Oregon State. He recorded 18 outs. He struck out 17. I said that's one of the more absurd stat lines that I've ever seen. And Cade Anderson almost equaled that tonight. Like, I understand Southeastern and Oregon State are not equal. I get that. But to do that, like to strike out hitters, college hitters, Division I hitters at that clip is just so elite. So yes, you're going to see more meaningful innings for Cade Anderson going forward. Yes, you will see him on the weekends in the SEC, but it will be out of the bullpen to start unless something changes drastically with the three guys in your starting rotation. Because Gage Jump has been awesome. Thatcher Hurd, like I said, has taken a step forward each week he's been out there. And Luke Holman was just named the National Pitcher of the Month for February, so you're definitely not moving him. It's a great problem to have. You just don't have a spot for him at the current moment in a weekend start. Out of the bullpen, absolutely, and I do believe that you will see him there. Let's have the Justin Lure conversation. During the preseason, when we talked about Justin Lure, transfer from Xavier, if you're unfamiliar, he was their closer. He was awesome. Sub-2 ERA, 7 saves, 6 wins. We factored into the winning decision 13 times. Closed out number 6 Vanderbilt to eliminate them from their own regional last year. Was awesome. And the way I, looked at it was you have him coming in. You have, obviously, Gavin Guidry back. And with those two guys, whichever order you want to put them in, you can own the 8th and 9th inning of ball games. And we haven't seen it. You just have to have a cut and dry conversation. Look, I'm not trying to crush the kid. That's never what we do here. But you want honest commentary. He has been very inconsistent, and I don't really know if you can count on him at the back end of the game right now. He was great in Houston closing out that ULL game. He was great in his second appearance of the season, but it has not been consistent enough. And when I see a guy like Fidel Ulloa doing great things when he's coming in, throwing strikes, I'm like, okay, can he take that spot in the 8th, and then you hand off to Guidry in the 9th? Or Guidry takes the 8th, and you hand off to Ulloa in the 9th? That's definitely possible. But what can't happen is you can't bring in a guy who's supposed to be a, rock solid number 1, number 2 at the back end of your bullpen and have him walk a hitter on 4 pitches at the top of that order on the road, already down 1. His job in that spot is to keep the game at 1. You can't walk the leadoff batter, and especially on 4 pitches. And it just hasn't been consistent enough from Justin Lure yet. So, with that being said, I will be very interested to see how they handle him going forward. I will be because he's going to pitch this weekend. And I want to see the spot that it's in, and I want to see the performance that he turns in that spot. And he should have hella extra motivation going against his former team in Xavier this weekend. But he's got to be more consistent. The stuff is plenty good enough. We've seen him be good against good competition, not just at LSU, but back at Xavier. But he has to develop more consistency to be a stable piece at the back end of LSU's bullpen heading into SEC play. This is your last pre-conference weekend. So he has to become more stable and more consistent. Because I don't want to say it's been a disappointment this year. I would say I'll characterize it more as I'm surprised by that this year. I see a lot of people, just because the chats are popping up in front of me. Chase Shores, a lot of people are asking about Chase Shores. Chase Shores is not even a year removed from this surgery. He's throwing bullpens, yes, but he got hurt against Tennessee the last weekend of March 2023. It's March 6th or 7th or whenever you're listening to this. You become really full go from Tommy John 18 months. He hasn't hit 12. He's throwing. He's rehabbing. That's great. Jay is always very vague with those updates because it is very highly, highly unlikely that Chase Shores will pitch this year. He just won't. Now, Jaden Newt, you could have him back by April. At least that was their target at the start of the season. So, and that would be a great boost to this bullpen. It'll be another right-handed option. The last thing I really kind of want to get to here, we'll talk about the offense a little bit. They never did send a box score. Come on, Bill. Guess internet's running slow over there in Hammond, America, y'all. Last thing I'll say about the offense, I kind of touched on it a little bit throughout, but just to wrap it all into one, if you want the full, offensive take. I like the lineup. I like the guys that are in it. And ultimately, I think when you get to SEC play, those are the guys that you're going to see. Is like who you saw in there tonight, like Kling, Pearson, Milam, Tommy White, obviously, Jones, Travinsky, Bingham, Braswell. Like, I think those are the guys you're going to see to at least to start SEC play. Again, we have time, but I think that is what you're going to see. I, for one, like Stephen Milam in the 2-hole more than Josh Pearson. I like that they're able to alternate the righty-lefty at the top, so I like the guys. But the one thing I will continue to say is I want to see Ashton Larson get a start. The kid has done nothing but hit the baseball anytime you've put him in there. He's 4 for 6 on the year. Give him a start. He doesn't have to win the job. He doesn't have to do anything. I just want to see him start. I want to see the sample size in a start. But I'll go back to it. I think the guys you saw tonight are the guys you'll see when they throw the first pitch in SEC play a week from Friday in Starkville. But I want to see Larson get an opportunity. Forgive me, I did not see the name, but someone said Milam's been the MVP so far. Yes, Stephen Milam's been awesome. He's hitting over 400. He put the ball in play every time he came to the plate tonight. He sparked that rally in the 9th inning. He has been awesome. He uses all fields. He's legit from each side of the plate. Stephen Milam, monster, he's been awesome. The one thing I will question until I see it, though, is can he do it against the SEC? And we're not far from getting our answer there. But yes, Stephen Milam has been fantastic. I mean, look, we talked about him so much, so much throughout the preseason, and really since last July when we're watching the draft. Like, okay, is he going to make it to campus? And he did. Be glad that he did. But yes, let's see if he can do it in the SEC, and we'll get our answer there. The 2-out production I thought was fantastic tonight for LSU, at least in the 9th inning. It's just been a hallmark, so I loved that. I love the short memory from a lot of guys. A guy like Paxton Kling, who did not have a very good night at the plate, but then comes up with a big go-ahead hit there at the end. I mean, LSU, while they didn't have, the best ABs at the top of the order, you went 1 for 9 with 4 strikeouts. The team only struck out 7 times as a whole. So that's really good. Like, you'll take that, obviously. And that's been a hallmark of this offense. Even with them trying to, find their way, they have not really struck out a whole bunch, which is great to see. So, I mean, look, you're not, I don't think you're going to have too many 1 for 9 nights at the top of the order. You did tonight, but I love the short memory. I love them sticking with it, and I love them fighting and battling against a really, 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 really tough closer in Jackson Rodriguez. I mean, we profiled him plenty on the preview. He was awesome. Alex Day asks, Ackenhausen at the back end of the bullpen. Sure, why not? Nate Ackenhausen's Riley Cooper this year. They're going to throw him a lot. He's going to extend. He's going to be in short outings. Like, I don't remember when I said that or what show, but I said, like, he's going to be the guy who leads this bullpen in appearances and innings. He's going to be Riley Cooper. That's how they're going to use him. This was the first time you saw him in a shorter stint. I don't know if he's got the rubber arm where you're going to be able to throw him 3 times in a weekend or whatnot, but yeah, I mean, Nate can pitch at the back end. He can start for you if you need. You saw that in Omaha, and he can definitely be the long relief. So, look, it wasn't always pretty tonight, but it was a great win for LSU. They moved to 12-1. They'll face Xavier this weekend at the box final pre-conference series before they head to Starkville. But liked the battle, liked the fight from LSU tonight, and Cade Anderson really announced himself as a star for LSU this season. So, all in all, man, you take the win and you move on. So, great time for LSU. Y'all smash the like button. like and share. Get subscribed to the YouTube channel and get it subscribed up on your favorite podcast app as well. We've got you covered here, obviously, all season long on Musso at the Box. And we'll be back with the next episode and hope that you will join us. Thanks for tuning in, and be back next time on Musso at the Box.